lawmakers have expressed their support for proposals seeking the live coverage of the hearings of the Maguindanao Massacre case. To share his thoughts on this, we're joined in the studio by Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan. Senator, good to see you again.
Good afternoon to you and to Tony and to our viewers. Magandang tanghali.
This resolution that you filed, resolution number 186, was filed since September.
That's right. We filed it precisely because we felt the need to continue to be vigilant in the monitoring of the proceedings of this case. The unprecedented brutality is such that we need to be vigilant to ensure that justice is carried out.
Of course, it says it's a resolution expressing the sense of the Senate that the Maguindanao Massacre trial should be made public through radio and television coverage of the court proceedings. Obviously, there's a stumbling block here because jurisprudence. We've discussed this a number of times that during the time of the impeachment of former President Joseph Estrada,
that is right.
That serves as a precedent.
The Sandigan Bayan trial.
The Sandigan Bayan trial, rather.
The Supreme Court ruled that the coverage should not be, media coverage should not be allowed. So that's the existing jurisprudence. However, that's been 10 years ago, nearly, and so perhaps it's time to revisit this position of the Supreme Court. I believe there has been a petition filed by the private prosecutors. So hopefully this is an opportunity to revisit the ruling and perhaps in this case set that ruling aside and come up with a new position that is to allow for the coverage of this trial of the century, for lack of a better term.
Personally, what kind of weight would that have on the Supreme Court justices? You have the President, you have the Senate, you even have the House of Representatives wanting a live coverage of the Maguindanao trial.
Well, we hope that this would allow for the Supreme Court to rethink and revisit its current position on the issue. After all, if I recall, Chief Justice Corona went to the media immediately after he was sworn into office and explained his position, or at least he made his position known to the public by the media. And so I think he sees the importance of the media and the value and the role that media play in terms of public opinion. And so hopefully he will take a second look at the current position taken by the Supreme Court in terms of jurisprudence and maybe set it aside and have a new position, which is to allow for media coverage. Merong mga concerns na there might be trial by publicity.
Right.
It may affect the rights of the accused. I think ultimately the Supreme Court can lay down the ground rules as to what entails coverage. There may be limits to the coverage itself, so that it does not turn into a circus, which is some of a particular concern of some of our justices. Nasa kanila yun eh. They can lay down the ground rules, the length and breadth, the parameters by which coverage will be undertaken, and therefore I don't think, and I know media to be responsible. If the ground rules are clear, I am sure that our media, our journalists will abide by these ground rules and comply with them.
Do you see a compromise that could be reached here, but as some people might be more cautious in approaching this, if not a live coverage, then why not just allow the media to record it on video or audio and then report it later on?
Well, there are several possibilities. Another is, if it's not going to be possible for a TV coverage, why not a radio coverage? When they hear the proceedings, they're able.
So it's open to several possible.
Several possible. There are many ways to the mountaintop. And so we are open to refining the proposal. It may not be full live TV coverage. It could be snippets. It could be radio coverage. The important thing is that the public will have access to the proceedings. Lalo na yung sabi nga ng petitioner, no? I think the lawyers for the private prosecution or the private prosecution, they're saying that many of the victims are from Mindanao, and they don't have the means by which to be able to monitor the case. They have to come to Manila, spend
to live here
and spend money. Whereas if it were covered by the media, then they would just be monitoring it back in Mindanao where they live, and so costs will be down and access will be made available. And so this is very important. We hope that the Supreme Court will reconsider its current position on the issue and allow for media coverage. Even if it's limited media coverage, they can lay down the ground rules, and I'm sure our media practitioners and the broadcast journalists will comply.
We just might have to play devil's advocate here, because obviously we are in favor of coverage of some sort for the Maguindanao Massacre hearings, but let's just say that if the end objective really is just to help the public become aware of the proceedings, of the daily developments, or not the daily developments, but the developments in each hearing that will be held, then why couldn't it just be a simple matter of reporting it out, say at the end of the hearing, to summarize what events had transpired, and to report this to the print media, or maybe just to, as you said, to radio or television, but not necessarily live. In the end, the information will still reach even people who live in Mindanao.
Well, again, we are open to a limited media coverage. Of course, I'd like to have covered live. Their worry is, the angle,
body language,
body language, facial expression.
Yeah.
Then it can be, it can be the...
Pwede naman sa likod, di ba?
Pwede yung Supreme Court personnel mismo. They do this in a limited sense. When there are oral arguments in the Supreme Court, it's beamed live to video walls.
The projector outside.
Yeah. So they can do that, and they've been doing that. So if they wish to monitor and ensure there is overall supervision as to the outcome, they can handle the camera and just hook up the rest of the media outlets to that coverage. So there are many ways to skin the cat, for lack of a better term.
All right. Well, but as you've seen from the surveys, a lot of people say that
may I just add, because before becoming going to the Senate, I had a program here for nearly 10 years, and I monitored cases for every week for nearly 10 years. And I did a study. In fact, Myra Chavez, who is one of the executive producers here now, she helped me put together data regarding our coverage of all the cases that we monitored. And I did a cross-analysis. I submitted it as a paper in my graduate studies. And we saw the distinct advantage, or at least it is very telling, the results, in terms of the speedy disposition of cases, in terms of cases covered live or covered by the media.
So you're saying that if it's covered by the media, there's a speedy disposition of the cases?
Based on the 9 years that I've covered cases before pending before the courts in the Philippines, and the results, how quickly they were disposed of relative to cases that were not covered. We picked around 4 or 5 cases that were not covered. And you will see the stark difference. Mas mabilis talaga ang resolution ng kaso pag minomonitor ng media. So I have the data. If they want it, I can make it available.
Did you go further in analyzing why it actually helps speed up the disposition of cases? They perform. I suppose they pressure on them.
They want to put their best foot forward, and they make sure that there are no unnecessary delays. Because of public scrutiny, they're hard pressed to perform and to deliver. I think that's the long and short of it. Once you know you're being watched, then you take care to do the right thing.
But these are obviously not all high-profile cases. I mean, nothing could be more high-profile than this Maguindanao Massacre.
Precisely, that's correct. But still, the data shows that when there is coverage, the ultimate result is that the cases are disposed of much quickly, much more.
And you're not even talking about live coverage, just coverage, meaning that there are cameras in the courtroom.
No, cameras interviewing the judge, interviewing the accused, interviewing the lawyers, and then featuring it on national TV. It's not even live coverage. So you can imagine when there is that element of live coverage. So I'd like to think there is a direct correlation between public scrutiny by way of the media and the quick disposition or the speedy disposition of cases.
Why do they say, Senator? Of course, I know that's a common term, trial by publicity. If it's something that is shown to on live coverage, why is that always perceived to be trial by publicity?
Well, of course, the danger there is that they will play to the gallery. You know, whether it's the prosecution or the defense, either way. In other words, play to the gallery, grandstand, if you can call it that, and therefore, there you have, you know, because of the publicity given to a case, rather than it be conducted in a you know, less emotional and minus the grandstanding. There is that fear that it could go that way.
But it can play. You can play it both ways.
That's
they
right.
can both play it, both parties, both the defense and the prosecution.
And ultimately, what will be your basis? And I think the basis should be our Constitution: the right to speedy disposition of cases, right to the right of the public to information on matters that of public interest, and this obviously is a matter of public interest.
The right to a speedy trial.
And the right to a speedy disposition of cases.
Okay, we're not going to be pessimistic here, but let's just go worst case scenario, and you know, the court says no, we're not going to grant it. You can get enough information through you know, reporters are going to be there, they're going to be listening and taking down notes. They can report as much as they want later on, but no live coverage for your story.
Let's put it this way: we never, well, if you ask me, I don't do things for the simple reason that it will emerge, we will win. You know, we do it because we believe in it, whether we win or not. And if we don't win this time, perhaps there will be a next time around. So we will just keep at it. We do this because we believe it is best given the circumstances, and we hope the Supreme Court will listen and will hear us out and will grant the petitioners, at least the private prosecution, who have petitioned this, and requested that the same be covered.
So if there's no live coverage, how can we make up for whatever we're going to be missing out if there was
Well,
live
the fact
coverage?
now that we're discussing it and debate, that would be the next best thing. That media vigilance and the citizens' vigilance should continue. Sabi nga nila, the cost of democracy is vigilance. You know, the vigilance will be necessary for our democracy to remain, you know, vibrant and dynamic and robust.
If that is denied, is there such a thing as a motion for reconsideration
I think, yes.
on a case
Yes.
like this?
Yes. In this case, a motion for reconsideration I'd like to think is available.
All right. So, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, thank you very much for coming. And obviously, a lot of people are banking on a possible live coverage of the hearings. A lot of people,
you know, even live streaming could be one option.
Another option.
You know, it'll be great for law students to be able to monitor the proceedings, you know, where they are in Luzon, in Visayas, and Mindanao. So the educational, you know, the value to the academics also of covering it live and having live streaming is immeasurable. It's an opportunity, really.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan, for coming here, and we'll await whatever decision the court will have on your petition, as well as other resolutions.
No, the private prosecutor.
The resolution, and as well as
and the letter of the president.
And the letter of the president.
And let's not forget the president.
Of course. Senator Kiko, thanks again.
Maraming salamat. Thank you.